Recently, Turning Point USA's Charlie Kirk tweeted a picture of himself with Candace Owens, looking like they were created in a Nintendo 64 video game, saying that a revolution is brewing. In order to have a revolution, one needs to have a goal, guided by a consistent message, anchored by a set of ideas and values. Unfortunately, Charlie Kirk is anything but consistent. Turning Point USA claims to be champions of capitalism, free markets, and limited government, as illustrated in this meme, applauding the achievements of big corporations. And I concur. When people are free to pursue their values, people end up creating good shit that other good people want to buy. Kind of like Jeff Bezos and Amazon, a company that allows Charlie Kirk to easily sell books to his customers, along with creating other values, jobs, and massive amounts of wealth. Given that Charlie Kirk loves capitalism and successful corporations, I assume Charlie Kirk loves and applauds Boss Bezos and Amazon for their achievements. Nope. Charlie Kirk takes every opportunity he can to shit on Amazon and Boss Bezos for the crime of not licking President Trump's boots. And it's strange that Charlie Kirk condemns Amazon for finding ways to avoid taxes, given that, Charlie Kirk's position that taxation is theft. Yeah, apparently taxation is just wonderful so long as Donald Trump is the president. And the criticism about Saudi Arabia might be fair, although, yeah, turns out Charlie Kirk is a total hack. And this is a huge problem with conservatives, their fair weather fandom of capitalism. Conservatives love capitalism, limited government, property rights, and big business when it comes to opposing the socialist left. But if a business does something that conservatives don't like or disapprove of, well, then it's time for more government regulations and higher taxes. Which should not be a surprise given that it was Republicans like John Sherman and Teddy Roosevelt that made the term monopoly a weasel word and made regulating big business cool in the first place. The progressive movement never would have gained any steam without Roosevelt and Sherman laying the tracks. Hell, who could forget that it was Orrin Hatch in a Republican Congress that punished Bill Gates for the crime of giving away free software? And it was a Republican Congress in George W. Bush that expanded Medicaid and other regulations, and it was George W. Bush that signed off on bailing out the failing banks.
Well, I obviously have made a decision to make sure the economy doesn't collapse. I've abandoned free market principles to save the free market system.
What? What the fuck? Thanks for pushing America towards socialism, Republicans. And we still see this today. Look at Dennis Prager and PragerU and how they champion capitalism and free markets. Look, they even have the same memes as Turning Point USA. But look at all of these videos from PragerU that champion capitalism while rightfully condemning high taxes and regulation. PragerU loves capitalism. That is, unless you're Google and decide to demonetize and restrict PragerU's content, then fuck you, Google. We need more government regulation because PragerU is entitled to more money and more exposure.
Well, a handful of tech companies increasingly dominate the daily lives of Americans. What could go wrong? Whether you're shopping, socializing, working, or learning, odds are you'll be spending an awful lot of time using Amazon, Facebook, Google, and a couple of others. Can we count on the goodwill of these companies? That's a rhetorical question.
Seriously, Prager, you sound just like the Fight for 15 crowd that you constantly rail against. Or how about Ted Cruz? Ted Cruz, allegedly the biggest warrior for capitalism and limited government in Congress? What does Ted Cruz have to say to Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg?
Well, Mr. Zuckerberg, I will say there are a great many Americans who I think are deeply concerned that Facebook and other tech companies are engaged in a pervasive pattern of bias and political censorship. There have been numerous instances with Facebook In May of 2016, Gizmodo reported that Facebook had purposely and routinely suppressed conservative stories from trending news, including stories about CPAC, including stories about Mitt Romney, including stories about the Lois Lerner IRS scandal, including stories about Glenn Beck. In addition to that, Facebook has initially shut down the Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day page, has blocked a post of a Fox News reporter, has blocked over 24 Catholic pages, and most recently blocked Trump supporters Diamond and Silk's page with 1.2 million Facebook followers after determining their content and brand were, quote, unsafe to the community. To a great many Americans, that appears to be a pervasive pattern of political bias. Do you agree with that assessment?
Senator, let me say a few things about this. First, I understand where that concern is coming from because Facebook and the tech industry are located in Silicon Valley, which is an extreme...
Hey Zuckerberg, next time a politician tries to tell you how to run your business or questions you on how you run your business, remind them that it's your property and tell them to fuck off. And this is not to say that I blindly approve of and agree with corporations and CEOs. Sure, if Google, Facebook, and Twitter are playing favorites when it comes to politics, I'm willing to concede that that's a dick move, but it's really besides the point. Because one, your disapproval of a business does not give you the right to regulate it. If Google and Facebook are not allowed to choose who gets to be on their platform, then Walmart does not get to choose which cereal goes on their shelves, a car dealership does not get to decide which cars sit in their lot, and Payless Shoes does not get to decide which footwear they want to sell, and so on and so on. Secondly, this totally undermines the conservative stance on capitalism and free markets. Notice how instead of calling to roll back regulations like Sherman Antitrust and many others, that conservatives would rather focus on creating more regulations. Again, thanks for pushing America towards socialism, conservatives. Third, most of these now big-name conservatives would not be shit without these social media companies in the first place. For the last few years, I've been following PragerU, Ben Shapiro, Daily Wire, Andrew Klavan, Bill Whittle, Occupy Democrats Logic, Paul Joseph Watson, Steven Crowder, and other conservatives on Facebook. And guess what? I still see their updates in my newsfeed every single fucking day. Not to mention, when it comes to YouTube, lefty talk shows like David Pakman's Show and Secular Talk have also been restricted and demonetized. Call me crazy, but maybe this issue of political bias on social media is just a little overblown. The fact of the matter is that these companies still allow these conservatives to engage and reach their fans. In fact, I began following Ben Shapiro on Facebook and listening to his podcast because I discovered him on a YouTube video. I subscribed to PragerU on YouTube after finding out about them on Facebook. I started following Chris Ann Hall on Facebook after Bill Whittle mentioned her in a YouTube video. I discovered Bill Whittle when watching him interview Yaron Brook on a YouTube video. But let's see what Bill Whittle has to say about those evil left-wing companies like Google and Facebook.
Facebook and Google, they're basically the same breed, you know. I mean, Apple makes the hardware, but it's really Facebook and Google that own YouTube and control the social media situation along with Twitter and a few others. Their credibility has been eroding slowly over the last several years, and then, you know, like going broke. It starts slowly and then more quickly. You know, we find, I don't have to go through this again because we've been through it so many times, but Prager University suing Facebook and Google.
Prager, his lawsuit, I could even be sympathetic to it. They are definitely wrong, and it's crackers in my view for a conservative to be suing a private company by invoking law written by the most leftist court in the whole goddamn country. The California Supreme Court decisions he's relying on are crap. They are totally wrong. And I don't give a rat's ass how many lawyers line up to tell me, oh, this is precedent and this is what the law says. They're all wrong. I mean, they're right that it's precedent. They are wrong that it's good. We complain about law all the damn time in this country, constantly. The fact that a court issues a damn decision that says something crazy, or even, the fact that a court issues a decision doesn't make it right. We should criticize the law constantly, just like we should criticize what Google is doing. So don't tell me about what the law says. I don't care what the California Supreme Court said. They are definitely wrong. What they have basically done is said that a private company is now a public forum. Once you do that, free speech is over. It's gone. You cannot have free speech if you don't have private property.
Bill, can I jump in and ask you how far you're willing to go in your conviction that something is awry here? You're a conservative, but don't you think the government needs to step in and restrain Facebook and Google from doing this?
As we've had this discussion many times before, I'm probably at the back of the line of people who want to have the government step in and administer anything. However, the problem with monopolies is not that they're capitalists. The problem with monopolies is that they're anti-capitalist. They're anti-market.
Wrong.
And an information monopoly is even more dangerous than a transportation or an energy or a communications monopoly in terms of telephones. These are monopolies now, and they are violating their terms of agreement. I think it's a fraud case more than anything. Maybe it's buried on page 900 of the terms of agreement. Undoubtedly it is. It's buried on 900 of the page terms of agreement that nobody ever reads. They just simply click on. But Facebook does not announce that they're going to suppress conservative content. They don't make that clear to you when you sign up for Facebook, that they're going to determine which political views are transmitted and which ones are suppressed. Well, so it has become something more than a privately owned company. Wrong. In the same way that utilities are more than privately owned companies.
But are they like a public utility? Do they have a monopoly of transportation, in which case can it be regulated?
Well,
so we're getting into...
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too far into that. All I would say is this: public utilities are a mistake, but the private companies do not exercise the same kind of power that governments do. And if we conflate that, free speech is done, and all of freedom is done.
Would Ben Shapiro be nearly as popular today without Ben Shapiro's fans making thug life memes and posting them on YouTube, or Ben Shapiro posting debates and live streams on YouTube?
Absolutely fucking not.
And fucking Boy Genius over here. Is it a platform or motherfucker? Does Mark Zuckerberg need to invent Facebook inside of his mother's womb for Ben Shapiro to recognize his goddamn rights?
What's easily forgotten is that Google bought YouTube over a decade ago and has essentially absorbed the cost of bandwidth and storage for years, and they continue to do so, allowing pretty much anyone to upload and watch content free of charge. Google essentially said, here everyone, here's a platform where you can post and watch content. And guess what? We're not charging you a fucking thing. Wow, what an evil, greedy corporation that Google is. Just paying for the transfer and storage of everyone's videos. Oh, and that dastardly Facebook just allowing me to reach more people and allowing my fans to see what I regularly post. Man, this is just like 1984. And now that Google suddenly decides they want to be more strict with who they want to monetize, promote, and sponsor, these conservatives turn into entitled leftist crybabies demanding that the government fix everything in the name of fairness. If anything, you guys should be thanking Google and Facebook, not putting a gun to their head and demanding more money and exposure. You're all acting like a bunch of Democrats. Have fun with your crappy revolution.